Okay, ladies and gentlemen, it's my pleasure to introduce our last speaker for this year's workshop. And she is Dr. Mrs. Charity Ezenwa-Onuaku. She's a highly skilled financial consultant. She's a professor. And a researcher based in America. She's a certified financial education instructor and a social entrepreneur pursuing poverty alleviation through financial education. She founded Wealthy Gen with a mission to empower women and youths through financial literacy education, tools and programs to help them establish and grow sustainable livelihood activities. She has experience with teaching financial literacy to young people and delivers this through the Financial Empowerment for Young Adults program she developed. We'll talk about that program, once she's finished, because it's a detailed program that everyone around the call should be part of. Dr. Charity Ezenwa-Onuaku will help the participants today understand the place of credits and borrowing in wealth creation and financial freedom. You can follow her online on Instagram, WealthyGen at WealthyGen1. Her website, if you go to our website, there's so many articles and so many financial education materials there. And all her programs are listed and advertised on her website. Her website is www.wealthygen.org. Dr. Charity, I'm going to let you start teaching, but I just want to say something before you start. Because I haven't spoken with you, I just chatted with you, and then I think 2 days ago, at the beginning of the conference, of the workshop, you wished me well and said you wouldn't be part of the weekly program because you're busy. Ordinarily, I would panic and I would be worried, but I just kept hearing this in my spirit that she's a woman of integrity, she's self-disciplined, she's not going to fail. She will show up at the right time. So ladies and gentlemen around the call, I didn't have to push her, I didn't have to call her 20 times yesterday to say, don't forget the 4 p.m. And pronto, quarter to 4, she appeared online. Thank you so very much. Your reputation goes before you. Thanks. The floor is yours now. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much, Ms. Bimbo. I really, really appreciate the opportunity to be here and to help empower our young ones, because this is a great thing you're doing. So I'll go ahead and share my screen.
Thank you so much.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so what we're going to talk about today is understanding credits and borrowing for wealth creation. And this is a very interesting topic. When I saw the topic, I'm like, okay, this is really good, because there are so many misconceptions about credits and borrowing. Okay, and as you see in the title here, it is when you understand credits and borrowing and understand the role it plays in helping you build wealth or create wealth, you begin to make use of it or take advantage of that opportunity or the opportunities around credit and borrowing. Okay. And what are we going to learn today? Before I go on, I know Ms. Bimbo has already, you all know the procedure or how to engage. So if you have any questions or comments, I like to see them in the chat. So as we talk, if you have anything you'd like to share, please drop them in the chat so that other people can learn from your ideas or experiences, okay? So our objectives for you today, there are basically 3 areas we are going to touch today. We are going to talk about money, we are going to talk about wealth, and we are going to talk about credit. And we are going to see how the 3 of them interconnect, okay? And what are we going to learn? The first thing is for us to understand the true meaning of money. And someone will say, I know what money means. Yes, we all know what money means, but what does money really mean or truly mean? And we're going to learn what that is today. And then we are going to learn how you can turn this money into wealth. And when you understand the true meaning of money, you can begin to understand more that money does not necessarily translate into wealth, but you have to make it happen. You have to translate your money into wealth. And we are going to look at how you can do that, okay? And then we will understand at the end of this lesson, credits and borrowing for wealth creation. All right. So we have the big elephant in the room. Okay, I know we've all heard of the phrase, the elephant in the room. What does it really mean? Now, if you look at this picture here, you will see the big elephant, beautiful, matching the wall of the room. And you see the young lady sitting down and just minding her own business. Okay, so the elephant in the room is really about, I know it's there, it's big enough for you to see it, but you just don't pay attention to it. It's the same thing when we talk about money and wealth. There are big elephants that people should know or that they know of, but we just decide to ignore it. We just decide not to pay it attention. But that elephant is really huge. There's no way you cannot notice the present. What are we talking about here? We're going to talk about the misconceptions, right? I know when I had the topic, credits, borrowing, I'm like, okay, so this is a good topic when we talk about wealth creation, because I'm going to give myself as an example. When I first came to US and I had credit cards, student loans, mortgage, and all of these kind of things, you go to the store to buy something, you need a refrigerator in your house, you walk into the store, they said, do you want to finance it? Like, do you want to buy the fridge and not pay anything and just take it home? That is credit. And my original instinct was like, I'm just going to spend my money. I don't want to owe anyone. So with that connotation, we believe that credit is not good. We believe that you just spend what you have, and that is how you're living a strong or a good financial habit. That is a big elephant. Some people, it might not be an elephant because they might not know it, but some people know that there are benefits to credit that sometimes they just don't want to take advantage of it. Okay. All right, so we are going to talk about, at the end, we will take a look at your questions. I see some questions coming through, but as we go through the lesson, we will address some of your questions, okay? All right, so back to one second. So back to what we are talking about, the big elephant in the room. We are going to talk about money. We are going to understand what money truly is, and then we are going to start addressing some of those misconceptions we have, and we'll answer your questions. And some of those questions we'll address will help you begin to pay attention to that elephant in the room when it comes to money, when it comes to wealth, when it comes to borrowing and things like that, okay? Now, the next thing we're going to talk about is money. If you look here, I have some beautiful pictures of money. I have them bundles in dollars. I have big lumps of money in Naira. What does it really mean for you? Okay, and I like to see some comments in the chat. If you know what money really is, please feel free to drop it in the chat. What does it truly mean? What is the true meaning of money? And I see some people raising their hands. Ms. Bimbo, is there a way for you to unmute them, or do we wait till the end?
I think we should wait till the end, so okay. We don't
okay. Yeah. Okay, great. All right. So if you know what money truly means, feel free to drop it in the chat. Money is a medium of exchange. Absolutely. A medium of exchange for goods and services. Absolutely. That is what I am seeing. Money is a medium used to indicate exchange of value. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. All right. So that is the main thing from the comments in the chat. Money is simply a medium of exchange. Okay. That is what it is. It is nothing but a medium of exchange. And if you understand this concept, that money is nothing but a medium of exchange, it's going to take you far. Now, it is a medium of exchange for your services or products. It is what you receive or you give back in exchange for something. All right. And if this is really what money is, how do we take advantage of it? It means that money does not necessarily stay with you, okay? When you get money, the natural or true meaning of money means that you will give that money out in exchange for something. And if you give money out constantly in exchange for something, you tend not to keep some of it. The natural tendency for that true meaning of money is that you end up giving it all out. You end up exchanging it all out for something. Now, the question is, what are you exchanging it for? That's number one question, okay? What are you exchanging your money for? Or what are you giving out to get money? And then how much of your money are you actually exchanging? If money is just a medium of exchange, I get $100 today or 1,000 naira today, I'm going to take the whole 1,000 naira and go give it out and get something. Is that what we're doing? Is that what we should be doing? Are we letting all the money that comes to us out, or are we keeping some of it? If we do let it all out, what are we getting back in return? Now, I like to tell people that you as an individual will command how much money you get in exchange for something, because whoever that's giving you money is expecting some kind of value. All right, is expecting some kind of value. So you yourself will have to make sure that you're giving good value, enough value for you to command more money in exchange for that. So that is what money truly is. Now, if money truly is a medium of exchange, I like to take us to what I call the basics. And these basics here will kind of guide us in everything about money, about credit, about wealth creation. If you look here, we have like 4 quadrants. You have income on one side, you have expenses on this side, we have assets and liabilities. But let us just focus on the first 2. Okay? The first 2 is income. That is money that is coming into you. It means that for you to get income, income is just money coming in. You're exchanging something in order to get that money, okay? Now, on the other side, you have expenses. This is the money you are giving out. You're giving out your money in exchange for something, all right? Now, I'm gonna skip this last 2 in a minute, and I'll come back to it, okay? So at the top here, you have savings, and then at the bottom, you have investing and wealth. We are not going to dive deeper, but let's get into this section. I brought out the first 2 and the quadrant, income and expenses. These are the basics, and these basics would help you a lot. If you understand these little basics, whatever decisions you're making about money will be around these 4 basics, okay? Now, income is the money you're making. What is coming in? It can be your salaries or wages if you're working. Every 2 weeks, every month you get paid. That is an income to you. You are exchanging that money for the time you're spending working for that people. Bonuses, right? If you do something really good, you get a bonus in exchange for that thing that you did really good. Tips. If some people that work in the restaurants or they do something, render some kind of services, at the end, some people tip them because they rendered beautiful service. That is money in exchange for the service they rendered. We have dividends. When you start investing in stocks, right, or mutual funds, you start getting dividends. These people are giving you, these companies are giving you, paying you dividend in exchange for you investing your money in their company. A portion of their profit in exchange for the money you invested in their company. You have interest. When you keep money in the bank or lend money out, you get interest for them using your money. We have royalties. Some of you here are talented. You can write books. You can create software. Some of you have artistic skills that you can sketch and draw and all of that. You get royalties from those, and you get gifts on your birthdays. On maybe you're doing something great, you get gifts from people. That is income to you. So all these are money coming in. On the right side, you have your expenses. The money you're spending out, your bills, any kind of bills you pay is money going out. Shopping, dining, movies, toys, gifts, transportation, educational expenses. Most of you here in school, when you buy your books, buy your supplies, uniforms, any kind of expenses around your school, these are all expenses for you. Now, this is where it becomes interesting, okay? Someone will get income and not let it all out, and not spend all of it out in these categories. When you keep some for you, remember money is just a medium of exchange, right? When you get income and not spend all of it, you keep some for yourself and then you spend the rest, you tend to have savings, what is called savings. All right, I know you all know about it, but savings is as a result of you keeping some portion of your money for yourself without spending all of it. And then when you have your expenses more than your income, you get losses. You get losses because you end up borrowing. That's when you have debts in here, right? You end up borrowing to meet your expenses. But when you have more income than your expenses, you can use your savings and invest. And you can invest in assets. Whoever that does not spend all of their money that they received most likely have assets because they have money of their own that they left without letting it all out. So we have savings and we have assets. On this side, we have losses and debts. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that this debt is bad. And we're going to get to that. It can be a bad thing, it can be a good thing, okay? But this is pictorially what happens when you get your money. You spend it all out or you don't spend it all out. When you don't spend it all out, you tend to have savings and you can use your savings to build on assets, your assets, okay? Now, we come to the last two components where we have our assets and liabilities. Now, assets are the things you own. The things you own, they are your things, right? It can be your cash. You make your income, you put it in the bank or keep it where you keep your cash, and you don't spend all of it. An example, you make 20,000 naira and you spend only 15,000. You have 5,000 left for yourself. That 1,000 is your savings, and that 5,000 is the cash you have as your asset because you own it. And then you have your stocks, your bonds, mutual funds. And I know you've learned a lot of this from our finance coach, BK, because I've seen her talk a lot about stocks, bonds, mutual funds. Those are when you invest money in companies, and you become part owners, or you lend money to companies, in this case, bonds. When you invest in those, they have ownership. You own them. You're part owners of those companies who bought their stocks. It becomes an asset to you. If you lend money in terms of bonds, it is your money that they will give you back. So those are assets for you. And then cryptocurrency is this new thing now. It's an asset. Your silver, your gold, when you buy all those things, they are your assets because you can resell them back. They're things of value. Assets are things of value that you own. Then your real estate, when you own a house, lands, right? Those are properties. They are your assets because they can appreciate in value and you can resell it. And then, or you can get recurring income from them in terms of rent, okay? Automobiles, you have your car, even though cars depreciate in value, but they are still things of value, right? Your automobiles are assets. You can sell them and still recover some money from it. Businesses, people invest in businesses. You start up a business, it is an asset because that business will generate income for you, okay? Life insurance is an asset because when you buy life insurance, you are paying into it, but at the end, when, God forbid, something happens, it's money that gets paid to you or your dependents, right? And there are some life insurances here that have savings option, that they're not going to wait until something happens to you before you can get your benefits. There are some life insurance that have savings options or investment options that you can also benefit. So these are the things of value you own, and they are your assets, okay? Now, liabilities are the things you owe to people. They are not yours, you're just borrowing them. An example is your mortgage. When people borrow money to buy a house, they own the house, but they still owe those people, the banks or the mortgage companies that they borrowed money from. Car loans. People borrow money to buy a car. When you borrow money to buy a car, you just go to the car lots and you drive away with the beautiful car of your choice, but you have to continue to pay those people until you finish paying on it. Those are your liabilities. Taxes. Sometimes you owe money to the government for taxes. Those are your liabilities. Your credit card balances. When you have credit cards, and I don't know if you all know about credit cards, is when you go to the bank or any credit card company, They give you a card, a plastic, like it's like your ATM card. But the money you are charging on that card is not your money. It is the bank's money. It's very common in developed countries. It's Nigeria, but it's not very common to everyone. But when you have credit cards, you're just spending other people's money. At the end of the month, you pay those people. So a lot of people have credit card balances, which is the amount of money you've charged on those cards that are not yours, because you have to pay back. Student loans, people borrow money to go to school, to pay their tuition and their accommodation and all of that. Those are student loans. And then you have other personal loans. Like when I talked about I need a refrigerator in my house and I go to the store, they can give me the refrigerator and just finance it for me, meaning I won't have to pay right away. They send me bills every month and I continue to pay on that. Or I can just borrow money because I want to do something. I want to renovate my house. I borrow money because I want to do something else, right? Those are your other personal loans. And those are your liabilities. Now, if you look at these two sections, when your assets outweigh your liabilities, it is a good thing. And that is your goal, whether you're borrowing money or not. We're going to talk about borrowing money later on, or credits. But your goal is to have your assets greater than your liabilities. You want to make sure that your investments are high enough so that they cover your liabilities. Because when you do that, you're going to have high net worth. So net worth is simply your assets minus your liabilities, okay? So when you have very large assets that are high in value compared to your liabilities, your net worth will begin to increase. So when you hear, Jeff Bezos' net worth is this, Bill Gates' net worth is this, they're really talking about their assets, meaning that they have high assets that are higher than their liabilities to that extent of their net worth. So that should be your goal. And then that is when you're building wealth. The only thing that makes you wealthy is not just the money you have sitting around, because you can easily spend it. Remember, money is just a medium of exchange. If you have cash sitting around, it does not increase in value. It does not appreciate. It does not generate you more money. It is your assets that generate you more money. Now, one thing I like to tell people, and if you take anything away from here, it is a concept I call income replenishment. Income replenishment. Let me take us back to this slide here. When you receive your income, you are spending it, because money is nothing but a medium of exchange. What sets the wealthy apart from the poor is that the rich or the wealthy always think about, how do I replenish this income that I'm spending? Because you definitely must spend. You cannot do away with spending. But what makes you wealthy, what helps you to build wealth is, how do you replenish this income? If you make $1,000 and spend $800, you have only $200. The poor will wait another 1 month to get another 1,000, but the rich will not. That 200 they have, they will send it out, and that 200 will bring them more money. Assuming that 200 brings them extra 100, that is 300 they have already against the person that will sit on 200 and wait. So they will use the 200 extra they have and invest it and send it out there for it to generate more income for them. That is what we call income replenishment. So you have to constantly think about, as I'm spending this money, how do I replenish the income I'm spending? Okay, that is what assets will do for you. Your stocks and bonds and mutual fund will generate extra income for you that will help replenish the income you're spending. Your businesses, life insurance, silver, gold, these things will replenish or generate additional income for you in addition to what you already have. The cash you have sitting in your bank probably will, if it pays you interest, but the interest is just de minimis, it's just very little. But it's okay, because you need cash sometimes for emergencies and all of that. We just will not keep all your money as cash. You have to replenish. You have to put it into something that regenerates or recreates income for you. And that is what, when you start thinking about, what are you spending your money on? What categories of expenses are your money going into? Are they just consumption expenses, or are you spending it on something like assets that will generate money for you? Now, I'm going to come back to these liabilities here, because this is really where our topic is leaning towards. When you borrow money, what are you borrowing money for? Are you borrowing money to just go pay your bills, shopping, dining, movies, toys, gifts, all of this kind of stuff? Are you borrowing money for these consumption expenses? Remember when we talked about when someone spends more than they earned? It might be a good thing, but most times if you are not intentional about where you spend your money, it might be not. And who is intentional? The person that borrows this money and puts it on assets. Because one thing that makes you create wealth, one thing that generates wealth for you, they are nothing but your assets. You're not going to build wealth going shopping every day to buy shoes and bags and jewelries and all of that. You're not going to build wealth every time you're going to movies. It's not bad, you can do that, but you're not going to build wealth spending all your money just to look good. What are you spending your money on? What are you borrowing your money on? If you borrow a lot more than your assets, it means you're spending your money you borrowed on something that does not generate you wealth, and that is when your net worth starts falling. Net worth is simply your assets minus your liabilities. If your liabilities are higher than your assets, your net worth will start falling, and you will be in debt. And once you get in debt, it's going to take you a while to come out of the debt, become debt-free, and for you to now refocus. So you guys are still young. This is a good opportunity for you to understand all of these basics so that once you get into that stage where you make your own financial decisions, you'll be able to decide, what am I spending your money on? In fact, anytime you go out there to spend your money, think about yourself, what am I spending my money on? Is it worth it? There are some expenses you cannot avoid. You must spend on them. But there are expenses you can tell yourself, you know what? Instead of me spending 1,000 naira on these expenses, let me just spend 500 and keep 500 that I can invest in something that generates more money for me. You have to start asking yourself those questions. Any questions so far? Take note of it and we'll come to your questions at the end, okay? So these are the basics. Now, I'm going to now come back to what we call how credit works. What do you understand by credit and loans? Sometimes they are similar, but they mean two different things. Credit and then loans. So credit is your ability to borrow money. It's just your ability to borrow money. Then when you borrow money, the money you are getting is your loan. Now, someone will say, why do I need to borrow money? Because you just learned that it is good to borrow money for, I guess the question depends on how you're going to use it, right? But when you are you going to be able to borrow money in the first place, or are you not? Because you can just, for the most part, you can just walk into a bank or anybody and ask to borrow, to lend money, for them to lend you some money. Sometimes you will get a no. All right. So, but we'll come back to those in a few minutes. I guess my next question is, when might someone use credit and borrow money? Okay. Do I really need credit? Should I really be borrowing money? When might be that situation where I would say, okay, I think I need to go and borrow money? And those situations can vary. But the key question here is going to be, before you can answer that, is what am I using the money for? I can borrow money because I need to go to college, I need to go to school, and I don't have anyone to pay for my tuition. And that is a valid reason, because I know that once I get my education, I get my degree, I can do a lot of things to make money. Education opens doors for success. So if you don't have anyone that will see you through school, it becomes a good thing. It becomes a good thing for you to borrow money to go to school for that purpose of going to school. And you can borrow money because you want to buy a house. Now, a lot of people pay rent, and I'm just going to use a US as an example here. So you can see someone paying rent of $3,000, $2,500 a month. But you can borrow money and buy your own house, and then the money you're paying back to the mortgage company might be less than $3,000. It might be $2,000. It might be $2,500 every month. Now, you are paying that money that you would ordinarily pay as rent, but you have your house that appreciates in value. And you might, depending on the size of the house you bought, you can decide to use some part of the house and rent it out and start getting rental income. Now, you borrowed money, that's fine, but you're making money out of it. That might be an opportunity, a situation where someone might use credit and borrow money. Or I might say, okay, there's this investment I really need. I really want to put my money in that I have researched and it is valid. And I'm sure the investment is going to yield me income, but I don't have money to invest. You can borrow money to invest on the condition that the benefits you plan to get or you anticipate to get from that investment will outweigh the cost of borrowing money. I'm going to give you an example. Sometimes when you borrow money, the interest rate is roughly, it can be around 18%, can be around 20%. I've seen people borrow money at the rate of 20%. If you're lucky, you can get at the rate of maybe 10% on there, but depending on your credit status, and we'll get to that credit status in a bit. So if you know that the rewards or the returns from that investment will give you, assuming your cost of borrowing is 10%, if you know that you're gonna get nothing less than 10%, if you're gonna get returns of around 20% or 30% or 50% on that investment, then yes. If the cost of borrowing is higher than your anticipated benefits, then no. So it means that before you borrow money to invest, you must make your analysis. You must understand what you're going into. I know someone asked that question, and I hope this kind of cleared your answer. So this might be some kind of assessment you have to make when you're ready to borrow money. Think about the costs of borrowing money and think about the benefits. If the benefit outweighs the cost, then yes. And you want to make sure that you have enough money, that you would have enough money to pay back that loan when it's time for you to pay it. Because if you do not, it becomes a totally different question. All right, so now the next question is credit good or bad? And I will kind of answered it as we are talking, right? Is credit good or bad? This can be one of the elephants in the room. Is credit really good or bad? Some people will tell you no, outrightly. Credit is not good. I'm not going to do credit. Some people will say credit is really good. Yes, wake me up and I'm talking credit. Now, before you can answer that question for yourself, you have to understand how it works. And my goal is that after this class, you can confidently say, oh, this particular credit is bad and this particular credit is good. You have to be able to make that judgment because it depends on the situation. Credit is not always good in all situations. Credit is not always good it's not always bad in all situations. So credit is neither good nor bad, but it can be either of them, depending on how you use it. So you are going to make the cut. You are going to decide that this credit is going to be a good credit for me because I'm going to use it in such a way that it is good. Now, let me give you a very good example. This is what I do very often, okay? And some of you may not know, but I'm going to give you a very simple example for young ones here, because I know some of you are calling in from different parts of the world. So there's a store that has a store credit card, okay? That if you're constantly shopping in that store, department store, you can apply for their credit card, they give it to you. And then every time they send you coupons to use to buy something. And their coupons are usually 20% off. Okay, and we are going to use just simple arithmetic here so that makes sense to everyone. They give you a coupon 20% off, but you must use your credit card for you to benefit from that 20%. If somebody gets that coupon and does not have a credit card, they will just pay the regular price. An example is if the price is $100. I'm just going to use that example, okay? And you have 20% off coupon. 20% off of $100 is $20. So you buy that item for $10. For $80 instead of $100 because you're saving 20%. So what people don't pay attention to is once they see that, they rush and they will use their credit cards and buy that and pay only $80 on their credit card and they go home. Somebody that's coming to buy at the same store with cash will not pay $80. The person must pay $100 because they don't have credit cards, so they can't use the coupon. Now, they buy it and they go home. They wait at the end of the month when they get their credit card statement. Guess what will happen? The store that gave you 20% off will charge you interest of 24%. Now, you will think you saved money, you saved 20%, but at the end of the month, they will charge you 24% interest. They just made $4 off of you, 4% off of you. Because they give you a coupon of 20%, at the end of the month, they will charge you 24% interest. So you think you're getting money, you are basically losing. The person that paid cash is good because they don't have to pay the extra 4% in interest. But there's a way you, as a financially literate person that went through this FCBK program, will do it. And the way we do it is we're going to say, okay, I'm going to take my $100 cash. I put it in my pocket. And then I'm going to go with the credit card and the coupon. I'm going to go to the store. And then I buy that thing, give them credit card, give them coupon. I'll spend only $80 in my card. You know what I'm going to do next? I'm going to turn around and pull out my $100 in my pocket and say, I'll take $20 and keep my savings. I'll take $80 and say, pay this into my account. That $80 I just charged in that credit card, I'm going to pay you back. And I pay you back, boom, I saved my $20. It's as good as I paid cash for it. At the end of the month, when they are ready to charge people interest, my balance is zero. They don't have anything to charge me interest, so I do not pay any interest. I completely saved myself $20. But if you don't pay it right away, they will charge you interest 24%, and then you will pay that interest. The $20 you think you saved will go right back as interest. And when you talk about compounding interest, you end up paying more than that if you don't pay it off at the end of the month. So there are some strategies to using credit in a good way or in a bad way. Now, I can also borrow money and just go treat myself, go to a little vacation and do all of that beautiful things. But another person might say, I'm going to borrow this money and use it to start a business and use it to invest in an asset that makes money for me. So how you use your credit determines if it is good or bad. The person that went to vacation, after 3 weeks or 4 weeks of vacation, they're back. They are in debt. They have to struggle to pay back. The person that used it for investing in assets already has a business or investment that is yielding money from them. They will use the money the investment is yielding for them to pay off the what? The money they borrowed. Once they finish paying it off, the business or the investment continues to yield money for them, and that is how they build wealth. So is credit good or bad? It can be good, it can be bad, depending on how you use it. So what kind of debts loans can you have? And we pretty much touched about them. We have your credit cards. It can be your consumer installment loans. It can be your school loans. It can be your home loans. It can be your mortgages. It can be for your car. It can be for anything at all that you need money for. Now, is it everybody that walks to the bank or a financial institution that gets loans? Absolutely not. So there are 4 things that determines your ability to get credit. Remember, to get loans. Remember, your credit is your ability. What determines your ability? There are 4 C's: your collateral, capacity, capital, and character. If you have all of these things, you can walk into any financial institution and get credit. And then you can use that credit to also build. Now, this is where it becomes interesting. All of these things determine your credit. And you can also use your credit to build all of these things. Remember the saying that the rich gets richer and the poor gets poorer? This is where it becomes interesting, because you need one to achieve the other, and you need the other to achieve the same. So if you don't have one, it might be difficult for you to get in the loop. Now, let's take a look at all of these things and see what they mean. They all mean. C is your capacity. Capacity is your present and future ability to meet your payments. Now, if somebody wants to lend you money, they're going to think about, does this person have the ability to meet these payments? If I give them $100,000 or 1 million naira, can they pay me back? If they determine that you cannot pay them back, they're going to say no to you. What are they looking for? They may ask you, do you have a job? Right? How much money do you make every month? What are your monthly expenses? Remember, we reviewed all of those things. That means for you to be able to even borrow money, you have to have some kind of income coming in. It is that income that they're looking on to say, if I lend my money to this person, they can pay me back through this income. The next question is going to be, are they making enough money? You might be making income, but the income might not be enough for you to pay the amount of money you're planning to borrow. So you have to, first of all, work on making money. If you're thinking about credit, you got to work on making money, all right? You need to get a job, or you need to have some kind of business that generates you income. And then how much income are you making? You're not just going to be making any income. How much? You got to focus on making enough income to be able to take care of your expenses so that you can have something set aside or left for you to be able to pay them. And that's why they're also looking at your monthly expenses. Where are you spending your money on? If you remember our first, the top section of the quadrant, we are talking about income and expenses. And if you have more money, more income than your expenses, you have savings. That's what they are looking at. Is this person spending all his money? He makes, say, 100,000 naira. Is this person spending 90,000 naira on just groceries and fashion and grooming, gaming, and all of that? Or is this person saving some money for himself? That is what they're looking at. That is your capacity. So if you live here, think about, how am I going to build my capacity so that I can be able to save, so that whenever I decide to borrow money, the banks or the financial institutions will know that I have the capacity to do that. So think about how you can build your ability, how you can build your capacity. All right. The second C is your character. Now, somebody will have that money. Okay. Somebody will have the capacity, but they will just be too careless to pay it. Right? So somebody borrowed money in the past. They have the money, or maybe they don't. But it doesn't really matter whether they have the capacity. But the question is, where are they paying it when it is due? Some people will have it. Is that they are not organized? They just forget that they have to make this payment. That is their character. Are you paying attention to your obligations? Because credit is an agreement between a lender, will I say the giver and the receiver, okay? The saver and the borrower. Because it's the saver that's giving you the money that they worked hard to save, whether it's a bank or individual. It is an agreement between you and them. I'm giving you this money and you're going to pay me back. Once you agree on that, it becomes a question of, are you keeping up to your agreement? Are you keeping up to your obligation? Then if you are not, it talks about your character. So they're looking at, how have you paid your bills in the past or your debts in the past? They might ask you, have you had credit in the past? How many credit accounts do you have? They want to sense, are you borrowing here and there and not paying them? Have you ever filed for bankruptcy? Or have you ever had your property repossessed? That kind of, so bankruptcy is when is when you've lost all your money, you're not able to pay all your debt. You just go and file and say, I'm done. I do not have anything to pay for all of this. I need this debt wiped away from me. That is bankruptcy. It tells the lenders that, oh, this person can be trusted. I might give him my money and he files bankruptcy again. And then, are you making your payments on time? In US, and I know some other developed countries do that, they have a credit score for every single person. And all of these things determine your score. Once they pull your score is a number that tells them how good or bad you are. So that score system hasn't really quite gotten to Nigeria, but at least these character things still apply. Okay, so work on your character. Whenever you decide to get a loan, even if it's from your peers, you want to keep up to your promise. You want to maintain that character that they know if you give this person money, he's definitely going to pay you back. That your character goes with you. It becomes a 4C or something that tells the lenders you're credit worthy. Then the third C is collateral. Collateral is it's your property, your assets. Remember when we talked about assets, the things we listed on the assets, because your assets are the things that generate you money. Now, lenders are interested in those assets as well, because if you are somebody that spends your money on assets, they know, okay, if I give this person money, I'm sure I'm going to get my money back because this person has assets that generates money for them. Because the person has these assets, I can confidently lend my money to him or her because I know he's not going to fail. Even if he fails, at least there's an asset I can hold on to. That is your collateral. So giving the lender collateral means that you pledge an asset that you own. Example, a car, or a car is a building, lands. They are giving it to the lender with agreement that it will be the repayment source in case you cannot repay the loan. And lenders will always ask you, do you have assets to secure the loan beyond your capacity to pay it off? That is your collateral. So now, if you're building assets, you see when we talked about the cycle that the rich gets richer, right? The rich are the people that are investing in assets. Because they're investing in assets, they have this collateral that lenders love so much. So what it means is that lenders can easily lend them money. And they can easily use that money to build more assets. And that is why the rich keeps getting richer. The poor people that have poor mindsets that don't pay attention to building assets, when it's time for them to borrow money, lenders will say, this person doesn't have anything. If I give them money, I don't even know if he's going to pay. And if he doesn't pay, how am I going to get my money back? They don't get loans. And because they don't get loans, they might not have the capacity to even invest more in assets, because the rich, all of the investments you see out there, they did not do all of them with their own money. That is when you start hearing other people's money. They are investing, they're buying all these properties, they're buying all these lands, they're buying all this real estate with other people's money, because originally they have started building assets for themselves. With these small assets they have, they can get more loans, more credits, and they can use that credit to build more assets. And the more assets they build for themselves, the higher their net worth. So you see that loop, you want to get in that loop, okay? If you take anything away from this class, it is the fact that you need to get in that wealth loop. And how do you get into that wealth loop? You want to start, no matter how small your income is, you want to make sure you have savings from it. And once you get savings from it, you're going to run. And I like to use the word run, not that you're literally going to run, but you're going to put your savings in investments. Because if you don't, remember, money is just a medium of exchange. I like to sing it over and over again. And I'm happy you all know that money is nothing but a medium of exchange. If you convert your money to assets, from cash to assets, then the tendency that you're going to spend it and exchange it for something else will be low. You wait until you get another cash before you spend it on gifts and games and fashion and all of that. So the little savings you have invested in an asset, so that asset will continue to generate more money for you. And then as you continue to build your asset, you are building your collateral. It is this collateral that you can rely on to get more money. That money is loans, it's liability, but it's a good one. Because you can use your collateral, that is your assets, and get loans that you can use to build more assets. That is the role of credit and wealth building and loans and borrowing in wealth building. But you have to build your capacity. You have to build your what? You have to build your character, and you have to build your collateral. And there's the last one, which is capital. Capital refers to the value of your assets and your net worth. All right. So we hear in the news, this person is worth so $1 billion. This person is worth so $1 billion. It is their capital because they've built it. It is value. And as you're looking at what to invest in, you're asking yourself, what is the value? Okay. So capital refers to the value of your assets and your net worth. So lenders will ask you, how much money do you have in your checking and savings account? They are determining your liquid capital. Once you hear this question, how much cash do you have in your bank account? They're looking at your liquid capital. Because in as much as you are investing your money, you still want to keep some liquid in case something happens. In case of an emergency, because if emergency comes and you do not have liquid capital, you are going to run and liquidate your investment. If it's an investment that will make you a lot more money in 5 years, and if you liquidate that in 1 year or 2 years, you've lost that potential returns you would have gotten if you waited. Or if you had an emergency fund, you won't even bother. You will keep your investments growing for you, and you will use your liquid assets, which is the money you have in bank account, to take care of your emergencies. So always keep some portion and then invest the rest. Now, they're also going to ask you, do you have investments? For example, stocks, bonds, and other assets. They want to know that. And they're looking at value. They're not just asking you, they're looking at the value. They're trying to measure your net worth. And when they measure your net worth, they are trying to see, okay, all of these assets minus all of these liabilities, how much is left? So these 4 C's of credit are what makes up your that's what tells the lender I need to borrow money to this lend money to this person or not. Okay. Now, when you eventually get that money, we've talked about it, but all these concepts are good for emphasis. It's important that we emphasize them, because the more you learn it, each time you walk out the street, each time you go out, you are thinking of yourself, what am I going to do? And I want you to pay attention to all of these things here. If you want to screenshot it because it's the different income you can get. All right? Because some people always think about, how else can I make money? You can answer that question if you know the different categories of income. And then you begin to ask yourself, where do I fit in all of this? When you get credits, what are you going to use your credit for? You can use it for any of these income categories. You can start a business. It does not matter how big or size of the business, how big it is. You can start a business of 50,000 naira, even 20,000 naira. The key is to get started. If that 50,000 naira business will generate 5,000 for you a month, it is something. Now your business is worth 55,000. If it generates 5,000 another month, it is worth 60,000. Imagine what it's going to be worth at the end of the month, the year. But if you wait until you have 100,000 naira, it's already at 100,000 at the end of year 1. It might look small or little to you, but every drop matters. Every step matters. In the business of wealth creation, it is a steady but consistent step. You don't wait until you jump. If you are looking to jump, then you are thinking about get rich quick scheme. And that's a different topic for another day, right? If you want to build wealth in a steady and sustainable way, you got to take it steady, slow, one step at a time. It doesn't necessarily have to be slow, but one step at a time. But that step has to be steady and consistent. Consistency is the key. So you can borrow and use that money for business. And when you start a business, the money you make at the end is what is called profit income. When you take care of all your expenses and all your income, all your income minus all your expenses will give you profit. Then you're talking about profit income. Okay. Now, investing to earn interest. If you invest in fixed deposits, rather than for those of you that are building an emergency fund, instead of say, I'm going to keep 100,000 in my cash account, my checking or savings account, I wouldn't necessarily do that. What I can do is I have 100,000. I'm going to divide it into two. I can keep 50,000. If 50,000 can take me for a month, 2 or 3, I can keep it there and use the other 50,000 and go and do fixed deposits. Because fixed deposits will give you little higher interest than what you get in your regular bank account. I'm going to go to that fixed deposit and do it for 3 months. And then I roll it, or maybe 6 months, because I have cash that can last me for 3 months. All right. So I'm going to fix the other one for 6 months so that if anything happens, I'm going to start using my cash first while the fixed deposit is generating me money. So I'm not going to keep 100% of my emergency fund as cash. I'm going to keep some in a short-term investment so that I can get some extra profit, extra interest. So when you're investing to earn interest, it is interest income. That's what you get from CDs, certificates of deposit, or fixed deposits, right? Or money market investments. Those, or even your regular savings account, those are interest income for you. Then you can invest that money for dividends, right? When you buy stocks, mutual funds, some mutual funds pay dividends, although some do not. Okay, when you buy stocks or buy mutual funds, when that company makes profit, they pay you dividends. So by investing in stocks can pay you dividend income. Okay. So in addition to dividend income, you can also invest in assets for capital gains. Stocks can give you capital gains. And other investments, an example is capital gains is, if I buy this item for 100, I'm going to use just 20,000 naira example. And then after 1 month, I sell it. Or after 1 year, it doesn't matter. Something I bought for 20,000 naira, I sell it for 30,000 naira. That 10,000 I made from it is capital gains. I buy stocks, it's selling for $100, or let me just say $50 a share. By the time I sell it, it's selling for $55 a share. The $5 on top every share I own is a capital gain for me. So you can buy stocks and get both dividend income and capital gains when you sell it. But capital gains, you can only get it when you sell. You cannot get capital gains until you sell it. Okay, so capital gains and dividends is like people that have poultry farm. Someone is buying layers and the other person is buying, what is it called, broilers. I hope you understand. So layers are those ones that lay eggs. Broilers, they don't lay eggs. They just buy it to raise it. Once they are grown, they sell it off. So those that raise broilers just make capital gains. But those that raise layers, you know what they do? They raise the birds and they start laying eggs for them. They start selling the eggs and they keep making money. Once they have extracted all the eggs from the layers, right? The birds can no longer lay eggs. Now they sell it. They sell it for capital gains, but they've got a lot of dividend income. That's the money from the eggs are considered dividends. It's the same thing as stocks. The money they pay you every quarter is your dividend. It's a steady flow of income. Okay, and that's what I teach people. Unless you're already trying to time the market every minute, reading all the charts and all the technical analysis, I encourage people that don't really know much to dive into full-time day trading for investments. I encourage them to go into dividend investing, in income investing, because all you got to do is find a dividend income, a dividend stock, And once you invest it, you go and rest. Because every quarter, they will keep paying you dividends. And if you're smart enough, you would not take out your dividends. You will do what they call DRIP, dividend reinvestments. Each time they pay you dividends, they will use that dividends and buy you more stocks. So that come next quarter, by the time they will pay you another dividend, you have more stocks. Your dividends will continue to increase. That is what compound interest does for you. That is a topic for another day, right? But you can get your credit and use it to go and buy investments. Investments that pay you dividends and investments that appreciate in value. So you can get capital gains. Now you can use your credit and buy properties and rent it out. There are some properties you buy, even if it's a house you own, you can buy it and do what? And rent it out. Some portion of it, some rooms. Okay, because I tell people it does not make sense for you to live in 10-bedroom a house when you only sleep in 2 or 3. If you are making use of 3, rent out the rest and make money off of it. That's rental income for you. Then you can do what they call patents, software, books for royalty income. A lot of you here are talented. A lot of you are very smart. You can sit down and create something. If you create something, you can patent it, it is money for you. Some of you are very tech savvy that you can design something and turn it into software. Some people have beautiful ideas of something that they can create, but sometimes it requires capital for you to develop a software. Yes, if it's an idea, a very brilliant idea that you can turn into a software, you can get credits and develop that software. But when the software gets into market, they will start generating royalty income for you. And some of you are very good at writing. Some of you can just stand up and make up stories and just tell a story, and whoever that's close to you will be wowed. Some of you can write. Take advantage of that and write books. It doesn't have to be very lengthy. You can start writing small short stories. Whether it's fiction or just an explainer book, something that people can read and learn something from. It doesn't matter how big it is. You can write something as short as 15 pages, 20 pages, get it out there for people to buy and get you royalty income. This is what you're going to do with the talents that you have. But you can get credit and borrow money to make it happen if you do not have money for it. Then this is where your employment comes in. Now, somebody will say, do I need to borrow money to get a job? It depends. If you need, I've seen someone that wants to get into the technology industry, and that requires training and certification. If you have the skills and you need money to train in that field, that will get you the kind of income you want, then yes, you can borrow money for that training, for education, and get licensed for you to do that kind of job that gets you earn income. So you can pretty much use your credit and turn it to wealth building opportunity for yourself, depending on what you're using your credit for. So those of you that are here, I'm pretty sure you're taking notes. Take a picture of this screen and then ask yourself, what can I do? Not necessarily, what are you borrowing money for? You can even decide to ignore credits at the top of here, because some of these things, if you already have money for it, you don't even need to borrow money for that. But we are using credits for those that are thinking about, can I borrow money to do this? But if you have help, if you have someone that can provide you this funding to do all of this, I want you to start thinking about this. These are ways you can build your assets. Everything here is your asset, but you're borrowing money, right? Borrowing money becomes a liability. But when you've built enough assets for yourself, your assets will outweigh your liabilities. And that is when you start building high net worth for yourself. Now, I'm going to take us back to these basics, and this is where they all come together. Your money, wealth, and credit, all in this thing here. Your money, your income. It doesn't matter where the income is coming from. It can be income from employment. It can be income from your investments. It can be income from your business, right? This is an income to you. The question is, when you get this income, regardless of the source, what are you doing with it? Are you going to use it for expenses? it is normal. You cannot run away from expenses, right? You cannot run away from expenses, but you can manage it. You can determine, how am I spending my money? You have control. That is when you say you are controlling your money is not controlling you. And that is what this class will do for you. At the end of this class, you will learn to control your money. You will learn to make a decision before that money lands in your bank account on your hands. You're going to say, how am I going to use this money? What am I going to spend it on? That is where budgeting comes in. And pretty much you've learned about this, right? From your first day of class and all of that, you learned about all of these things. But you have to, if you don't know how to budget, we'll talk about it and see if we can have a class for that. But you want to put down how you want to plan. You got to plan ahead of time. Before that money comes, you got to know how I'm going to spend it. It doesn't matter how much it is. Most of you are in school. Your students, if you live in boarding school, your parents give you pocket money. Your friends, your family members give you some money. How are you spending it? You will think, oh, I'm still in school, but hey, this is the perfect opportunity for you to start building this habit. They give you pocket money, I'm going to save this portion. Yes, I'm not going to spend all of it. I'm going to save this portion. Maybe after 1 or 2 semesters, you must have built some kind of savings. And then you got to start thinking about, how am I going to invest it? Most of you here have smartphones. But before you do that, it's important for you to learn how you do it so that you don't lose your money, okay? But you got to start savings, even if it means starting with the ones, fixed deposits, right? Mutual funds, basic stock trading that will generate you some kind of income. If you start early, what you have now at your advantage is timing. A lot of grown people are saying, if I knew what I know now and then, people won't even see me. My net worth would have been so. But you guys have that opportunity now, and you're taking advantage of this beautiful program that Finance Coach BK has organized for you. My plan for you, or my goal for you, is that at the end of this program, you already have a plan in place to manage whatever income you have, even if it's just gifts, even if it's just tips. Okay, then once you finish, you manage your expenses, you're going to start getting savings from it. And your savings is what you can use to do what? To invest and build wealth. You are always thinking about, what am I spending money on? Let me spend on assets, right? Let me spend my money, or let me keep a portion of my money that I can use to buy assets. And then when there's need for you to borrow money, you are not going to borrow money to go shopping. You're not going to borrow money to do other things. Your key is knowing that I'm going to borrow money so that I can put it into my assets. I'm going to borrow money to do things that will increase my assets. And as you're doing that, you are building not just your assets, you are building the 4 C's so that later or next time you need credit, you'll be found ready. There are some people that it doesn't matter how much they need. Once they walk into any financial institution, they get it. Simply because they've built their character, they've built their capacity, they've built their capital, and they've built their what? Collateral. So keep those 4 C's in mind. And as you work on building your assets, you will make sure that you're building your character, your capacity, and your what? Your capital. And all of this together is what ties these things, all of them together. And that's what makes you, what helps you to build wealth. As you're going into school now, as you're only in school, you're building your capacity. Okay? As you're going into school, you're building your capacity and you're building your character, because your capacity is, I'm going to school to learn something, to study that thing that will help me generate money, to develop my skill, because it doesn't necessarily mean you have to work. You can do your own thing, you can run your own business, but you're developing your skill and your talent that you can use to build wealth for yourself. So do not take any of this for granted. This is an opportunity that you have time to understand what to do and to start doing it. That is the end of our slide, our presentation, but I know you have tons and tons of questions, okay? I don't know how much of it we can get to, but at this point, I'm gonna let Ms. Bimbo panel kind of control the questions, and then we can take it from there.
Thank you so much, Dr. Charity. You have not disappointed us as usual. I know there are some people that were part of last year's workshop around the call, and I'm sure that they did not expect anything less. I'm going to give you a hand clap here while they help me clap for you online. That has been the practice. I have the microphone, so only we can clap at this time. Thank you so much, Dr. Charity. I look forward to meeting you someday, in person, but you inspire me. I think you need to know that you're such an inspiration.
Thank you.
Thank you for all the kindness that you extend to the rural women in the eastern part of Nigeria. You're there in America. You haven't forgotten the people that I need in Nigeria. That is another inspiration. Thank you so much, Dr. Charity. You can take a cup of cold water or warm water. One of the panelists has been so kind trying to answer all the questions, because he's also an investment expert. So he's been answering some of the questions, but there are some that have fallen into the chat box. And so I'm going to ask you those questions when we get to any open one from the question and answer box. Yes. Thank you everyone for staying with us. I don't know if I should say that we kept the biggest masquerade for the last day. So have fun while it lasts, because we'll meet again only next year for this workshop. All right, Dr. Charity, there was a conversation online. There are some participants that we promoted to coaches during the week because they've been very interactive and they've been very outspoken in the chat box. So someone has tried to answer them. But there's a question about what happens when the collateral, where the loan is higher than the collateral. So somebody has an asset to use as collateral, but the loan is bigger than the collateral. What happens? There have been all sorts of answers online. I want the expert response.
So I'm going to start this way, that whoever that's lending money to you will make that assessment from day one, okay? So they are not just looking at, they are looking beyond things. Remember when we talked about 4 C's? They're looking at your character, they're looking at your capital, they're looking at your collateral, and they're looking at your, did I miss anyone?
Capacity?
Because yes, they're looking at your capacity. So sometimes you're looking, I'm going to use an example, you're looking to borrow for, just going to use simple numbers, right? You're looking to borrow 100,000 and you have collateral for that's worth, say 50,000, right? And before they say yes to you to lend your money, they must have checked all of the things. They've checked your capacity. What kind of income do you make? How have you been with your debts or your loans in the past? And if everything checks out well, then they can hold on to. If everything checks out well, they know that from now till maybe in the next 6 months, depending on how long you're trying to get your loan for, that you must have gotten your enough income for 6 months and you must have saved some money, right? Because that's why they ask you, how much do you make? What are your expenses? They are looking to see how you spend your money. And if they're lending you money for say 1 year and your collateral is just worth 50,000, sometimes some lenders will say no to you from initially, right? If they are not confident in your ability to pay back, they might say no to you, because they don't have enough information, enough collateral in case you fail. But some lenders will go beyond that. They're looking at your capacity. Okay, this person makes enough income, even though they don't have enough assets, but they make enough income and their expenses are really not that much. So from now to 6 months, they must have saved a significant amount of money in their bank account. They might consider that and say yes. And if they do, then they know that because everything checks out, your character checks out, they know you'll continue to pay. Right? And so even though your collateral is less, they know that they are confident because they've done their due diligence and they've made the assessment and they know that your capacity is good. Because even though you don't have the money now, but you have the capacity to make income in the future to pay them. So that's what the assessment they make. In advanced countries, although it hasn't come to that in Nigeria, but sometimes they get this information from me, because someone might ask, what if you make up numbers and give them? In US and some other developed countries, they ask you those, but they pull that information themselves, because there's a central database that they can go and pull someone with your credit information, they see the income you make. They see the people you owe, right? With your number, they see the people you owe, and they see how you've been in the past. They see that score that tells them how you've been credit-wise. So when they see those things, and if it all checks out perfect, you have good credit score, then they'll give it a go ahead, because they know that you've not failed in the past and you have the capacity to do it. In Nigeria, it's quite different because we don't have that central database yet, because they have to depend on what you tell them. And so that's why they're a little strict. They want to make sure that they have that collateral. So it becomes, if you really want to go successfully, you want to borrow something that you can manage, that you know that is within your capacity and is within the range of your collateral, so that you go there, they won't say no to you. So might take risk and say yes, but guess what? They will charge you very high interest rate. So that from the first, assuming you're borrowing for 1 year, for the first 6 months, they've gotten enough money from you for interest. And that interest they've gotten from you might at least cover just in case if there are losses, because they are taking a risk lending you that money. So that's what you need to work on. If it's less than your collateral, be sure and be ready that they're going to charge you very high interest to cover for that potential loss or risk.
Thank you very much. You addressed the three views. There were about 3 views on responding to that question online. You've addressed all that clearly. Thank you, Dr. Charity. There are 2 questions that are similar. Chisom says, what are the best ways to maintain a reputable character to lenders? And then Hope Team says, if you had a bad character in the past, how do you prove to the lender that you have changed in character?
So yes, and so it becomes tricky because now we have people from different parts of the world. And then I like to give an example what happens here and what happens other places. I'm going to start with the US, and it's easier in the US because they track you, whether you know it or not, right? Because every lender everybody has a particular number, social security number, and Nigeria is beginning because they have the national insurance number, I believe. But I don't know if it tracks people, but here social security tracks everything you do. So if you borrow money, the moment they approve you for, say, credit card, that activity gets tracked, right? And every month you pay, they record it. Lenders report your activity to the credit bureaus. Credit bureaus are the people that monitor your credit activities. Whether you like it or not, they do. So every month you pay, what they do is they report. And they generate a score for you and check it against your record. So every lender that wants to lend you money will go and pull your report. Once they pull your report, they see, okay, this person has credit card with this company. They missed 1 month. Oh, they missed 6 months. Oh, this person stopped paying. They see all of those things. So if you want to, so for you to be able to build that repeatable credit character to them, you want to pay every time on time. If you pay late, it's recorded that you paid late. If you miss not paying at all, it's recorded that you missed. So the way to do is to pay on time and not miss any, because once you don't even need to tell them anything. Once they pull it, they see the record for every single credit account you have. Now, if you've been bad and you've missed some payments, your character has been pretty bad, the only thing you can do is to start now and start doing what you're supposed to do, because the moment you start doing, they keep reporting it. And if they look back, they average out. And the time will come when all of those missed payments and bad character will start dropping off. Some of them after 2 years, some after 7 years, some after 4 years. So they average out and they stop dropping off. The older it gets, the less impact it has on your ability to get loans. So the moment you realize, okay, I've been bad, I need to start rebuilding my credit reputation, start now, because the moment you start, it gets reported. Now, in Nigeria, it's quite different because there's no central system that tracks all of these yet. So that's why they're looking at if you bank, it's always important to use the bank that you have a relationship with, because your bank knows, at least they can see your banking history, they can see your transactions, they see what you're doing. It might not necessarily translate into borrowing, but at least they see, oh, this person deposits money consistently, this person withdraws, there's always this minimum balance in the person's account, and they can see what you're doing. You've maintained that reputation with them, they can make that assessment. And that's why they ask for where you work. They ask for guarantors, people that will sign off on you. And they like to have people that are reputable, right? That, oh, I know this person, and if this person is guaranteeing this person, it's like that person is putting their own credit on the line for you. So that's, if you are looking to do something like that, look for somebody that can stand in the gap for you. That person will be your guarantor for the most part, because that person is known to have good credit reputation, and that person can guarantee your own credit activity.
Thank you so much. There's so much to learn about this subject, and we can't deal with everything in this 1.5 hours. I have a question for you, Dr. Charity, but I want you to also, maybe when you reply that question, when you answer, please talk to us about the next FAIR program, because I know you have more detailed models that will talk about everything that's, credit and borrowing is all about. My question for you is, I just want you to talk about the place of budgeting in helping one live within one's means without, tilting to borrowing. You've spoken so well, and honestly, forget that I'm Coach Bimbo. There are so many things I've also learned. I've spoken so well about how we can, grow wealth from borrowing. There were some questions around the chat box about how do we live within our means and everything, but I know that budgeting plays a good role. Please explain to us. I know it's a big module in your FAIR program, so I'm asking you to do, talk about a module in 2 minutes. So please, the place of budgeting in credits, borrowing, and living within one's means.
So now that you talked about it, budgeting is one elephant in the room, everybody's room, okay? If you look around, you see that people tend to look at budgeting as kind of putting a restriction on yourself, but it's not. People tend to look at budgeting that I have, especially the people that I feel that they are living well. I don't need to budget, just give me the money, I know what to do with it. Yes and no. So budgeting plays a very critical role in that budgeting puts you in control. It's really not putting a limitation on yourself, but budgeting puts you in control of your money, that before your money even comes, you already know where to go. And I say this because one thing, when you attend my budgeting class, or it doesn't matter budgeting class, but whenever I talk about saving and investing and budgeting, what I tell people is to pay yourself first. And what it means is you can do that if you do not budget. Paying yourself first means I know that I'm going to get 10,000 naira this month. I'm going to tell myself ahead of time in my budget that I must put $2,000 towards my 2,000 naira towards my savings. And it doesn't matter what happens, I'm going to live within 8,000 for that month. You can only achieve that if you budget. If you don't budget, you will see yourself scrambling at the end of before the end of the month. Now, I'm going to go to my budgeting worksheet or tool or app and say 2,000 of my money first, I'm going to do that first, goes towards my savings. And I'm going to take that 2,000 and go put it in my savings account. Now, in my head, because a lot of these things is working on your mindset. Budget helps you to work on your mindset. My mindset is going to say, now, I look in my checking account or spend account, I have only 8,000. And then I'm going to come back and budget that 8,000. I'm going to say, how am I going to spend this 8,000? You will find out that if you usually spend 1,000 in grocery shopping, I'm just making these numbers up. At the end, I will see it doesn't add up to 8,000. This one I'm going to do, I'm going to come back and reduce my 1,000 to 900. I'm going to go to my shopping and say, you know what, I may skip shopping this month. Let me do that next month. I'm going to use that money I usually allocate for shopping and put it into something else. So budgeting helps me to map it out ahead of time so that if I know, okay, this 8,000 is going to this, and that. If anything else comes to my face, I go to the mall, I see, oh, look at this beautiful shoe. That voice in my budget will tell me it's not in your budget. And then I'm going to move on to other things in my budget. guess what? At the end of that month, I have 2,000 naira or dollars that I can use and invest. If I did not do that budget, I'm going to go to the mall and see that shoe. I like it. I'm going to say, you know what? I'm going to pay. Well, the moment you buy it, that money is gone. If you wait till the end before you save, you will never save. But if you budget ahead of time before you start saving, you will see clearly where it is going. And you can reallocate your money from something that is not a need, from something that is a want, and put it back into something that's a need, so that you know exactly where you're going to spend your money when that money comes. I like to do it ahead of time, not on the 5th of the month. I like to do it around 28th, 26th, 27th, before that money comes. Because if you get paid on the 1st, do it before that 1st comes. Because once that money comes, there's spirits with money. Remember, money is a medium of exchange. The moment it comes, if it's a human, you will see the money is always trying to work out. Okay? But because you can see it working out, it has a spirit with the money that once it comes, trust me, a lot of things will be calling the money's attention. But if you plan ahead of time, you're going to take the money for your savings, and you're going to know exactly where the money will go before it comes. Now, I hope I addressed your question with budgeting. Budgeting is what everyone needs, regardless of your status. If you make $1 million a month, hey, trust me, you need a budget, because you can tell yourself, out of this $1 million, I really need to spend only 500,000. I'm going to use that 500,000 and go and invest me in an asset that will yield me more money, because that $1 million, I can use it to make another $500,000 next year. But if I don't budget, oh my God, I might be looking at getting a private jet and going to a private yacht party and all of those kind of things. They're good, but budgeting will help you plan better. And budgeting will help you put your money where they should go, so that you are not wealthy today and tomorrow you are poor.
Yes.
Okay, that's how the rich gets richer, if they plan. Some rich people end up hungry because of lack of planning. Budgeting will help you avoid that, and budgeting will help you stay on track.
Thank you so much.
Okay, so the next FIA program.
Yeah.
FIA program is something I usually do before the school starts around this period. But this year we kind of took a different turn. We were in partnership with a different organization to run our FIA program strictly for their audience. And we did that for complete 2 months. And so we couldn't open it up to the public. But we are planning another FIA program. We probably will do something before the holiday and do that in the Zoom, but I don't have the date yet, because we just completed the FIA program for this year. We completed the 1st week of August. So we don't have a date yet for what the next FIA program will be. It's a 10-week, it's a 10-module class, everything you need to know about your financial empowerment. And once we map out that date, I'll be sure to share that with Ms. Bimbo so that she can pass that information out to you. My plan is to do something that is open. We won't wait till the summer next year, because it's more likely we will be doing that specific program for specific groups, but we'll always want to do something that every other people can join. So we plan to do that before the summer next year, maybe early next year. We can do that before the heat of the summer starts, because summer might take over time. We will have an opportunity to open it up. But once I get that detail, I will send it over to Ms. Ruba and she can pass it on to you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Charity. I feel like giving you a hug, and I can give you one from here. You know, I'm so grateful. Thank you so much. On behalf of all the young people and the adults, we have some parents joining with their, with their awards and their mentees and their children. They've been with us, from day one. And some parents have given feedback saying, oh, I wish we knew about this earlier and all of that. So it's good value for the time we've spent. I thank you so much. I know you had a hectic week and you still made our time to be with us this year on this program. Thank you so much. I'm going to hand over now to Pastor Niyi. And if you can stay with us, it's just 30 more minutes, Dr. Charity, it will be good. I'm going to hand over now to Pastor Niyi. He's one of the panelists and he's going to anchor the feedback, the recap, feedback, and session. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thanks very much. But before we allow Dr. Charity to go, I will have a question for her, maybe two or three. The first one, there are some of us, I mean, we are not able to save because our income currently is not even able to meet up with our expenses. And I'm not talking about wants now, I'm talking about the what I would call the compulsory expenses. Those of us in that situation, what suggestion or advice do you have for us?
It's very simple, okay? The simple suggestion is find another source of income, okay? And it might sound kind of weird, but that is the truth. If you, because sometimes people say cut your expenses, cut your expenses. There are some expenses you cannot cut. There are expenses that you must have. You must pay your rent or your mortgage. You must provide food for the family. If your kids are going to school, you have to pay their tuition, get school supplies and all of that. You have to pay for electricity, utilities and all of that. So if you've looked at your expenses and you know that there's no way you can cut, yes, then the next solution is, what else can I do to make income? That means your strategy now will no longer be reducing your expenses, it's pumping your income. What can you do to increase your income? And if you look within you, there is something you're very good at. I tell people always, we are innately born with capacity, with ability to do about anything. We just have to find out what it is. There's someone I talked to, and she's a banker, but because of she has a large family, and as I said, a lot of things she needs to attend to, and at the level she didn't have enough income to meet her needs, and she sings in the church. Yes. Okay. She sings in the church, and
thanks to put your hand up.
Okay, and she sings in the church. What I told her is, hey, young lady, you have a talent. You can sing. You can make money from it. She thought it was a joke. I invited her to my house and gave her my my mic that I use for podcast. And she just recorded a simple song, sent it to someone, and they mastered it. They gave her something, and before you know it, boom, she released a single. Just like that, because I learned that she sings in the church. And before you know it, her songs are on YouTube, her songs are on Apple, her songs are on Amazon, and people are downloading it. Just everything happened within a space of 3 months. Okay, so this is just one example. There are some people that can draw, they can sketch. There are some people that can just get online, and there's so many. It becomes a question of you taking a look back on yourself and say, what can I do to make extra income? There's so many things people can do, and individual case might be different. So go back and take a look at, if you're in that situation, take an assessment of yourself and say, what can I do to make extra income? We've looked at different sources of income that we can take at. It could be a small business you can do online. It could be anything. It could be, if you're looking for something in the short term that you can get money right away, there are some short-term solutions that you can get something, even if it's buying and selling. Online has made the market global, that before you know it, you've developed that and that you consider small to something big or medium. So that is going to be my strategy. Think of something you can do to increase your income. I hope I addressed your question.
Yes, you have. So I think the key message is reducing your expenses is good, but that is not the only solution. And there is not mutually exclusive from also increasing your income. So we need to be doing both at the same time. The other thing I want you to talk about is around the risk and the reward mechanism. When we do investments, you talk about the various types of investment, fixed income. Can you just enlighten us on how the risks and the reward tend to play out with the different kinds of investment that we do? Thanks.
Thank you. That is an important question. And when we talk about investments, one of the things you can never overlook is risk versus rewards. Because I see people always looking at, what am I going to get out of this? Okay. And if you continue to look at what is the reward I'm getting, you might be forgetting what's the risk. So the relationship between risk and rewards when it comes to investment is, once an investment is highly risky, And I will explain. I explain that using an example for someone that doesn't have enough collateral, right? In that extent, the bank or the loaner is considering you as someone that is risky. So once an investment has very high risk, maybe the company is not doing well, maybe the asset base is not strong, or maybe the business they are doing is business that's dependent on so many variables that can be risky, then that investment will pay you very high returns in order to compensate you for your willingness to take on that risk with them. So whenever you see most investments that have very high returns, it becomes important for you to take a look at that, a deeper dive to see the risk associated with it, because they always front high returns, high rewards as an offset for the risk. Now, the next thing as an investor, someone that is financially literate would do before you jump into an investment is to assess yourself. Ask yourself, what kind of investor am I? Are you a risk taker or not? If you can take risk, what's the level of risk you can take? Then if you know your level of risk, then you look for those investments that fall within your risk level, because not everybody can take on the risk. I'm going to give you an example. When COVID hit, stock market was falling. It was crumbling. A lot of people lost money. But I'm going to tell you the truth. During stock market was a time that I would say I made my most investments. Why? Because I already made my analysis. I know the investments I'm watching. I know the stocks I'm following that I really want to get, that even if the stock market is falling, I know where they're going to get to. I know they are not going to fall to this very low level because I already know their risk level. So you must understand the risk level of any asset you're buying. Okay, because if you're willing, if I know this and I know that I'm willing to take their risk because I know their risk level, I'm going to get into it. If everything is falling, it might be a good time for me to go buy them because I know that in no distant time, it's going to come back up because I know their risk level and I'm willing to take that risk level. So you're going to take your risk, but you want to make sure you understand your own risk level. Some people don't care. They want higher returns because they are not even willing to take on that investment for a long time. They're willing to get it now and sell it off right away when maybe the investment is paying higher rewards, and they don't want to hold it when that risk opportunity starts coming. So you have to understand your investment, understand the risk, and understand your own risk level. And for those of you that are really young, there are so many things that play a part: your timing, your age. For someone that is younger can afford to take on more risk because they have the time. And when time plays into investments, investments need time to grow, that kind of thing. So they might have enough time on their plates to play around. But someone that is older, that is nearing retirement, might not be able to take on that much risk because they don't have time on their plate. If you buy something that's risky, that the risk might flatten out later on in the year, if you don't have that time to allow the risk to flatten out, you might lose your investments because you need your money immediately because of your age and maybe you're trying to retire. So those are the things you consider as an investor. Know your risk preference and understand the risk inherent in the investment you're making. And then understand your time, the time you have at your plate based on your age and all of that. And you'll be able to make sound investment decisions. And it's always good to seek expert opinion because sometimes you might not really know it all. There are different ways that you can use to assess the risk on the investment you're making. And you have to understand how to really weigh the risk, because sometimes the numbers, the information is not publicly out there, or it might be there, you might not understand how to read it. So it's always important to seek a professional advice or opinion before you jump into any major investments that might be potentially risky. I hope I addressed your question.
Yes, you have. I think for me, the key takeaway is for all of us to understand that nothing is guaranteed, especially for those of us in Nigeria, where people come to you with offers of what I would call ridiculous returns. And they will give examples of people that have benefited from those returns. They are not lying, it's the truth. But what they did not tell you is that there is a risk that you may or you can lose your money. And so that 10 people made money from it might be your turn and you will be the one to lose money. And you need to ask yourself whether you are actually prepared for that. The last one I'm going to ask you, you talked about it, but I just want you to emphasize in a different way. And this is about the matching of our liabilities with our expenses, and also people using short-term funds for long-term investment. They've just given me my school fees. I'm not supposed to pay it until next month. And there is this lovely investment that is coming that I'm thinking of doing. What would be your advice to us?
My advice to us all, and I'm going to start by saying it. If anything sounds too good to be true, it's probably too good to be true, right? If you start having that issue, that instinct that this sounds too good to be true, probably is. So do not rush into any investments. Always take your time and understand it. And we talk about your liabilities and expenses, and using your short-term funds for investment. So there's a way I talked about you having an emergency fund and then how you can make use of it. If it's money you need, and that's why an emergency fund is really important. If it's money you need in the short term, do not put it into investments. But there are short-term investments that you can do. But you have to be intentional about where you put the money. And we're going to use school fees as an example, because this is what might be common with all of us here as students. If you have your school fees and you don't need it until maybe next month, or I'm just going to use next 2 months or next 3 months as an example, I won't use it to buy stocks. I won't use it to buy mutual funds and all of that, because it's just going to be a waste. Guess what? When you put that money in there, because you don't know what's going to happen, it's not guaranteed. Investment is not a guaranteed, you just put in and you get your money, most investments. So what I would do, or what I will encourage you to do, is you do not put such money in the stock market, because when it comes in the next 3 months, you need it. The price might be low than you bought it, and you do not want to sell it and make loss. If you sell it because you need it to pay your school fees, you're going to make loss, and you won't have enough money to pay your school fees. So that's a waste of funds and a risky investment to take. So, but there are what they call fixed income investments. Fixed income investment it's guaranteed for the most part, right? You have your money intact. If you have 1,000 naira that you're going to use, this is just an example, I'm making it up, that you're going to use to pay your tuition, and it's due in 3 months, and you don't want to just keep that money wasting, and you want to make some kind of money out of that 1,000, then the best option for you will be to go to fixed income securities, your fixed deposits, right? Or money market, or if they have if they have bonds that you can easily access, then yes, because those ones, your principal is guaranteed, and then you get some kind of interest. But you have to make sure that you're getting, if you need in 3 months, you're getting fixed deposits for just 3 months. You're not going to extend it. If you money market or your CD, certificate of deposit, something almost as fixed deposits, or your bonds, you want to make sure you can get something for 3 months. Nothing more than that, because if you have more than that, you won't get your money back on time when you need it. So you have to make sure you get the sense within the time frame that you need it. What happens is when that time comes, you're going to get your 1,000 naira back intact, plus a little interest for investing that money for that short-term period. So that's an opportunity. If you're looking to invest for the short term, go for fixed income investments, something that is fixed. You are sure you're going to get your principal plus interest at the end of the period. And then please always be mindful that I'm moving on to liabilities and expenses now. When you borrow money, it's not wise for you to borrow money and use it for your regular consumption expenses. No, you're borrowing money, you're going to use it for something that generates you more money. That is the only time that credit is good. That is the only time that loans are good. Borrowing money to do all your regular spending, shopping, gaming, and all of that is only going to land you in debt. Okay, so that is when we say credit is not good. I cannot put credit what I cannot afford. If I cannot afford to buy this clothing, I cannot borrow money to do that. I cannot put it on my credit. I want to make sure that I can afford it before I can do that. If I must borrow money, I'm borrowing money for something that yields me more money. And that is borrowing for assets, borrowing to spend on assets, borrowing to invest on business and other things that yields me more money. Thank you very much. I hope I addressed some of your questions.
Thank you very, very much. Can we just put our hands together for her for doing justice to this topic? We hope to see you next year, Dr. Charity. We appreciate all the wonderful things you've shared with us today. You've told us about the definition of money. You've taught us about assets and liabilities. You've tried to change the mindset of quite a number of us about a good loan and a bad loan. You've given us the forces of credit. I mean, yeah, and I found this very interesting because when the questions were coming, there are a number of people who have granted loan to people and the people never repaid them back. So I expect that those people will start to use the forces of credit to start to evaluate anybody that comes to meet them and say, please, can you borrow me money? I'm going to pay you back next week, next month, next year. So they have a tool that they can use to do the evaluation. You taught us about using other people's money as one way whereby the rich continues to get richer. You've taught us about emergency fund. Maybe the question will have been, how much should be my emergency fund? Maybe that's something we are going to talk about next year. You've talked about liquidity, just to ensure that we are not forced to liquidate our investment at the wrong time because we do not have money to meet other pressing needs. You also talk about the short-term investment, long-term investment, and the risk associated with every form of investment. So thank you very, very much. It's been a very, very interesting 4 days. I mean, at least for me, I've had a very, very nice time. So I want all of us to start to use the chat box because I need some feedback from you all. The first thing I will be asking, are there things we are expecting to be covered during these 4 days that we are not covered? Can you just quickly type them into the chat box? Topics that we are expecting that will be mentioned, things you are expecting to be discussed, or things you wanted to hear that nobody has talked about. Can you just quickly just type them into the chat box so we look for a way to address such topics, such issues, such deep discussions in other ways? Can we quickly do that? I'm not seeing anybody chatting anything. What you would have loved to be discussed that we are not mentioned. Okay, budgeting, that's one. Auntie Bimbo, you are taking notes.
Yes, we're taking notes here.
Any other one? Topics that you would have loved to be privatization. Okay. Risk management. Okay. Let's keep them coming, please. We are already forming what next year's
workshop will be about.
Time management.
Time management. Okay.
Budget focus. Oh, somebody is calling Auntie Bimbo 110%. All expectations met.
Oh, excellent. Who is that person? That's interesting.
Let's keep them coming, please. Let's start to plan towards next year, even now. Emotional intelligence.
Okay.
Dr. Fumi.
Exactly. That would be for Coach Fumi.
Let's keep them coming, please. We don't have that much time, so let's keep the chat box buzzing. Things you would like to hear more about. Skills creation, investment management and strategy, accountability in finance, how to deal with procrastination,
and damage control.
Damage control in financials, security challenges in terms of investment, okay, financial management, Career advice. Okay, good, 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 good. Okay. Now I'm going to ask you a difficult question now, and I really, really want an honest answer. Yeah. So, is there any topic that you did not enjoy, or you think it was not necessary for you? Any topic that you think was discussed during this workshop that you think was not very beneficial? I know it's a difficult one. You all want to be nice to Auntie Bimbo, but please, please let us know any topic that you did not find very interesting. It's not about the speakers, but it's basically maybe.
Aisha says no topic, Pastor. Can you move to the next question?
I'm not calling those that are saying no. I know it's a difficult question. So I want them to think deeply whether there is anyone that they think enjoy or they did not want. So none. Let's clap for Auntie Bimbo and the team. They must have done that.
Yes, and for all the panelists, not just myself.
Okay, so the next thing is that I would like to find out from you is which topic did you enjoy most? Which topic did you enjoy most? Again, this is not an assessment of the speakers, it's just to gauge what topic people tend to have more interest about. Which one did you enjoy most? Kajata, I know you enjoyed all. Which one did you enjoy most? Okay, Coach Fumi, self-esteem. Let's keep it coming. Let's keep them coming. King of top topic. Boosting self-esteem and confidence. King of talk. Core beliefs, academic excellence. Dr. Kalu, today's topic, of course.
Dr. Charity, please check your private chat. I sent you a question.
Self-esteem, money mentoring. Let's keep them coming. Let's keep them coming. There are some people who have not seen them post anything. We still have 80 people.
Some are answering to host and panelists. Are you seeing both? Some people are responding to host and panelists, not to everyone.
Yes, I'm seeing everything. I'm seeing everything.
Okay.
All the chats. Okay, academic excellence, credits, money mentoring. What you enjoyed most? Oh, you missed day one. Oh, sorry.
Accept our sympathy.
Anybody that missed any of the days, I can just feel for you. Okay.
When we have the recording, sir, we'll have the recording online latest by Monday.
It cannot be like live.
Okay.
Nothing like listening and watching live. Day one, okay. Teju baby face story. Let's keep them coming. Some people have seen up.
Dr. Charity, did you see the message?
Oh, you missed module 4.
No.
Oh, sorry. Don't worry. There will be a second chance.
Wow. I thought
okay, so now the next thing, I want us to make personal commitment. I mean, for these 4 days, you've learned a lot of things. So what commitment are you making for yourself? What are you going to be doing differently? Considering these 4 days, the things you have learned, the interesting topics, what are you going to be doing differently? When you say better financial choices, what does that mean? What will you be doing differently? So I want you to phrase it that I will be doing this. I want you to make some very, very smart decisions. Specific, I want them to be measurable. I want them to be realistic. I want them to be time bound. I will save and invest smarter. That's not good enough. I want to know, I want you to tell me how much you will be saving every month. That's how we make commitments. Yes, you want to stop procrastinating. You want to do the business plan. I want you to put a date to it. When will that business plan be ready? I'm going to develop a business plan about so and so type of business by so and so date. I will start saving 20% of my income. When are you starting? Our commitments have to be specific and time bound. How much are you going to be paying yourself? I keep better records of my spending income. How? What will you do? Which record are you going to keep? How are you going to keep it? Yes, nice one, Yeshua. It's starting now. That's how I want it. I will save the little I can. That's not good enough. How much is that little that you are committing to save? It's your personal commitment now. So that you'll be able to measure yourself. Nobody is going to measure you, but you are making a public declaration now. And I know we are all men and women, brothers, sisters of honor. I will start saving by next week. Good, 1,000 naira. That's the starting point, despite not days of little beginnings. Having different streams of income, yeah, that's good. But again, we need to be specific, measurable, achievable. I will earn 100 naira every day. Please go and get a box where you put that 100 naira into. At the end of the month, let's open it, let's count it. We can take it to the bank. Nothing is too small. We just need to start. Save over 9,000 naira daily, monthly, yearly. It has to be specific. Weekly, good. So we have somebody saving 9,000 naira weekly. At the end of the month, we have 36,000 naira. 36,000 naira is enough to buy us, I think, about 1,500 shares of Zenith Bank at almost 3 naira dividend. By the end of the year, we are getting about 4,500, excluding capital appreciation, just dividend income alone. So let's keep it coming. I will stop buying on impulse, export. I clap for you. That's a good starting point. And that export means today, we will start to hold ourselves accountable. I will start saving 50% of my money now. That's a very big one. I hope your expenses will still be covered. I will start saving little by little. No, that's not good enough. How much is that little? We need to be specific about the commitment we are taking. Taking steps, that's not good enough. What are the steps you are going to take? I just started fixing this, and I'm going to work more on budgeting. I have to ensure that 20% goes to saving, 10% time, 30% for materials. I've missed the rest. But that's a good one. At least that's a good commitment. What I will also ask you is ensure you know how to calculate the profits from the business. So if you need help with that, follow Auntie Bimbo on the social media handle and ask her about how to calculate your profit. Can the topic on buying shares be included for next year? Done. They will talk about it. I plan to save 5,000 per month from September. Good. We are doing very well. Doing very well. I will improve on my mental attitude towards finances by studying more books. Not good enough. Let me know how many books you are going to be reading monthly, or every 6 months, or every 1 year. We need to be time bound in the commitments that we make. 1 per month. Okay, good. I hope you will get some of the books from Auntie Bimbo that you are going to start with. You will make a change to start earning other sources of income from today. That's good. Develop business plan this new week. saving 20% monthly by September, start going back into dividend income, reduce expenses, taking all the topics into consideration. Nice one. Dividend income. With dividend income, there is also fully going to be capital appreciation. Somebody is asking me, is any bank stocks a good investment decision? If I have money today, I'm going to buy. So I will start working on my saving skill. I will be doing a lot of fixed deposit. When are you going to start that? How much are you going to be saving? How much will you be putting in fixed deposit? Please, can we have some list of good investment platform? I'm not sure that I understand what you meant by investment platform. But again, you can just post that question in the social media handle, and there will be discussions around it that will also be interactive. I've always spent money without saving, not having a source of income, but after that, I promise to save 50% of the money I get before I enter my university. Good. If possible, just open an account and let the money go there straight away before other things will start to beg you for the money.